the Gould Mine podcast.
You know, having built a company myself and kind of taking it through the different phases and whatnot, I obviously I don't know everything about the fund space, but I've talked to enough fund managers and I've talked to enough people that are doing this now to the point where I realize, like, I do feel like this space is still pretty immature when it comes to like true business savvy. A lot of these guys understand real estate. They understand how to run the business of their asset class, but they don't understand how to run a business, right? And understand how to run their group like a business. You got departments and everything.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's my passion. That's why I say, like, what do I do? I mean, I help real estate entrepreneurs grow and scale their investment firms. It's how do you grow and scale a real estate investment firm, right? Mm-hmm. Which means it's more than just doing deals and, you know, executing your business plan on the asset. There's more that goes into it. If once again, if you want to build and grow and scale a business, right? And that's usually the disconnect is like guys hire me to help them start a fund or whatever. Like, well, how much are you hoping to do? Well, we want to have $500 million in assets in 5 years or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, you'll have a legit business. I mean, that means that, like, that's a real business. It'll take a real business to do that. Now, if your aspirations are much lower and you're like, hey, I'll be happy if we buy one deal a year. Well, once again, you have to have a vision of some kind, whether it's a big vision or a small one. You got to know what it is, and you want to build an organization around that. So yeah, I totally agree. And that's where my passion is, like helping them see beyond that. It's more than just doing deals.
Do you use like I don't want to say like a cookie cutter or like a templated approach to the coaching or like I would say when you look at like an org chart, right? Like, for example, like, have you read Traction before or EOS?
No, I've been using EOS and Rockefeller Habits since 2000 when I started my first business. So,
dude, hell yeah.
Yeah. So in fact, I mean, you read, so I basically have taken EOS and added to it, I call it Empire Builder Formula. And so I've taken that as a framework for like, here's the framework specifically, the best of, you know, EOS, but with the parts that it doesn't contemplate, because it doesn't contemplate you got to raise a bunch of equity to run your business on an ongoing basis. Yeah. Right. So I created all these other tools. So I've got a thing called the magnetic message framework. So it's like, how do you message much of what we talked about today, right? Like, here's the process you follow to develop a compelling message. That compelling message then turns into a compelling pitch deck. That compelling pitch deck becomes a compelling website, right? And that becomes compelling collateral and material you use in the sales process so that your prospects, when they show up on the phone with you, actually know what the heck you do before they show up so that you can actually focus on how you can help them, right? That's that fourth conversion, the trust conversion. If I jump on a 30-minute call with someone, I'm talking the entire time, how in the world am I ever going to build trust with them? I'm not going to build rapport and or trust in that time. I want them to be like, hey, listen, I don't know if what we do is right for you or not. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. I just need to understand where you're coming from. What are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What are you trying to do? What's your net worth? Like, what do you want? Well, now I can say, does what I offer fit into what you're looking for? If not, that's fine. I'll just tell you, hey, you want, 20% returns or whatever. Like, we just don't do that, right? We do core real estate deals. Like, this is capital preservation, it's whatever. I don't have what you want. Things like that. So, anyway, I mean, I love that stuff. I mean, all my successes are attributed because I use those tools. Like, I never would have got where I got if my mentor didn't introduce me to, like, Lance, there's a bunch of wrong ways to run a business and there's a right way to run a business. Yeah. You need a plan. You need a strategy, right? You need a vision. You need core values. That's how you do it. And sure enough, it works if you're disciplined and you stick with it.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting, man. Well, and when I kind of came into this too, like the first thing I realized is like, dude, we need to implement EOS like immediately. We still haven't done it, right? But like very quickly, I was like, dude, this could get really messy really quickly, and we could be spinning our wheels for years if we don't have a system, and And so I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, because it's like, it's just reinforcing the idea that like that needs to happen like sooner rather than later.
It does. And a lot of it just comes down to focus, right? Like you have finite human capital.
Sure.
And probably finite financial capital. And so it's all about determining what the most important thing is, right? What's the one thing? What's the one thing we need to get done in the next 90 days? Right. And everyone's in alignment along those things, because there's so many distractions. That's what I'm saying. Like it's hard building and growing and scaling a real estate business because it's like you're running two businesses. Right. And I always say my analogy is like, it'd be like if you owned a trucking company, but you also had to own a oil refinery. Like if you had to refine the oil to get the fuel to put in your trucks, no one would own a trucking company. But yet we do. We go and like, we have to own like a whole business that like finds real estate, acquires it, adds value to it. And we have to go find the fuel, the capital to put into the deals. That's two different businesses. And we need them to act like they are just one. So there's alignment. And most of them, if they figure it out, their deal side is really strong. Their capital management side super weak. It's siloed. Like it's not right. It doesn't work. So it's tricky. Like it's not, that's why I feel like this isn't for the faint of heart. Like you got to love this stuff. If you don't love what you do, then there's probably better ways to make money. There's better things you can spend your time doing. You got to love it.